Hello everyone. Today we are going to step through installing an RGB LED into our demo building. And we started out with 3 wires, one each for red, green, and blue. And one of the wires has to have a common positive. Now there's 2 different ways that the LEDs get set up. The LED scene controller uses a common anode, and the microboard uses a common cathode, and they're labeled. Anyway, what we're doing here is we're tinning all the ends of the wires. This is a step that sometimes people are not aware of or forget. But what this does is takes all of the loose stranded wires and connects them up, solders them up, and makes a nice, neat connection. We're going to tin the tabs on the RGB chip in just a minute. And then when we put the 2 together, all we need is a very short dab of heat, and that'll create a nice clean solder connection. Now the other thing that we do once we solder, tin up the ends, is we clip them back to about 1/8 of an inch. We really need just a short piece of wire. And that also helps keep everything neat. The board is only 8 millimeters wide, and we don't want the wires to short out. So we take the chip and we put it on our alligator clips here, and we're going to just tin the 4 tabs. So there's a common, which is at the very top, and it's labeled, and then we have RGB listed below. Now, one of the things that we did here is our wires have, there are 2 wires for each of these plugs, and we only need 1 common. So what we did to keep the wiring and everything simple is we clipped the common red wire on the other 2. Now here what we're doing is we're just going to solder the red common and the first of the connections, and I'm going to bend them in a kind of a parallel fashion. This just makes the soldering task a little bit neater. Now for this task, I'm holding the camera, soldering, and you're looking over my shoulder. You just see I just tapped that existing solder pad very briefly. And then we just shift the wire a little bit to get the next one over. So it goes very quickly, done the right way. Now here's the case where we have the single wire. It's going to be black in color, and that's going to connect up to the JST connector. And we're going to end up with 3 wires, and those will plug into 3 separate ports on the LED scene controller. So here we're finishing up the last one. Okay, so we'll flatten out the wires a little bit. And for our demo box, you can see the red wires are cut loose, so we just have the black on the second 2 wires connected up. Here are the 3 JST plugs, and they could go through your building. That's just a standalone. Now what we did is we ran the wires through our building. We have a little round hole there, and we soldered them up to the RGB, and we're adding a little short piece of shrink tube. You don't have to force it all the way up. And this is just to keep things neatly bundled inside the building. And as soon as we get that shrunk up with a little bit of heat, we'll pull the whole wiring back through the building. So here you can see our building we made with the Woodland Scenics Flats. It's just a wood carcass with some rooms laid out. And here we have the LED scene controller, and we're going to set all of the modes to 9. 9 is the TV simulation. And by the way, it doesn't matter which port you plug the 3 ports into. They can be any 3. It probably makes sense to make them adjacent, but that's not necessary. We did make them adjacent here. And you can see I'm just scrolling through, and I'm going to configure each of the ports that I'm going to use for this red, green, and blue. I'm going to configure them to mode 9. Now here you see the chip installed against the roof, and there's another LED in this room. It's a white LED, and so the combination of white with the 3, if you will, flickering colors gives a really nice TV simulation. You can see it going on there, and it's reflecting on the wall. So in this case, sometimes we'll put the LED on the back wall to shine out. In this case, we want reflected light, and so we put it on the ceiling. Now, the other thing that you'll need to do is to adjust the brightness. So the blue and the green are going to be a little bit too bright. You want to temper them down a bit, maybe the red a bit more. So you just want a shadow of these colors on top of the white. You don't want the room to be a disco. And so that's the way to adjust them. So I hope you enjoy that. There's another video on our website and on the YouTube channel that shows the completed building. Hope you enjoyed that.